All right, you legends. I can never get used to the cold weather when it comes in. We got our first cold Saturday here on the bike. Cold for us, it's like 46 Fahrenheit. Probably about 7 Celsius, something like that. 7 to 9 C is warming up a little bit. It's gonna warm up to about 21 C by lunchtime. But because our cold weather doesn't last long and we have a lot of humidity, we had some rains, it just feels like it cuts through everything. It just feels colder than in other places. So needless to say, I'm wrapped up because I like to be comfortable. So I can use my energy to ride the bike. So we'll get some clips for you all. I'm headed out, all in black today. I'll pick up the group. It's about 7:41. We changed the start time to 8 a.m. because now the sun rises about 7:35 a.m. Plus it's winter anyway, so we're leaving later. It's a little warmer. And so once the time change occurs, we'll probably revisit that, but it probably will stay about the same. But we'll see. So hope you get a chance to get out and get some Ks in.
On this ride, I left Northampton, rode into the woodlands. After picking up the group at the Alden Village Center, we headed out on Research Forest. We went all the way out to Moston, past Karen. All of that's off camera. We got to 1486 and we stopped at the first rest stop there in Magnolia. Then we continue on Old Hempstead Road. That's on camera. I turned on the camera. Went all the way up towards Cypress, Rose Hill, Joseph Road, Butera, through Stagecoach, Decker Prairie. There's a last little climb before the second stop in Rose Hill. That was nice. Then after that, turned off the camera, headed back home through Tomball, Texas, past Oklahoma. We took Black Oak, which is the back way into Sterling Ridge, the woodlands. And after that, took the long way home. I think you would love the clips I put together for you because it was a very pleasant and very, very cohesive group ride. We're on the open road. We're on Old Hempstead Road in Montgomery County, Texas, heading towards Cypress Rose Hill. We're cutting through some neighborhoods here. We had just left our first stop, and it's a stop I'm going to remove from this route because they went out of their way to single out cyclists. As soon as we walked in, the clerk told Paul, no free ice. We were there about a month ago, and the clerk mentioned that, and Abby told him, hey, we're not going to pay for ice if we just put it in our bottles. We pay for ice when we buy Coke and we use your styrofoam cups or whatever else, because it just comes out of the little dispenser there. It's not like a bag of ice. But they're losing sight of the fact that we spent more money than what the ice is 85 cents you want to charge. Well, we're spending $30. You're chasing 85 cents and you're going to lose $30. And those are the kind of businesses that just don't survive. And, it's short-sighted. So whatever business you're in, don't sweat the small stuff. So now here it is. I'm going to take him off our route. We're not going to stop there anymore. And because they went out of their way to single it out. On this day, we didn't need ice. It's cool. So that's kind of what I said. But it annoyed me because they're worried about pennies and losing dollars. That's just dumb. So in spite of their incompetence, they're still in business. So when you do your business, take it to the next level. Don't sweat the small stuff. Focus on quality. Focus on service. Make people seek you out. Let people go out of their way to come to you to do whatever it is you're into. If you're a woodworker and you're making statues or whatever you're doing, do it most so that people go out of the way to come to you for what you provide, whatever service you provide. Don't do the like the mainstream people. Distinguish yourself. So the business I do, I work on bikes, I do other stuff, I coach people, I take people out, teach them how to ride. People call and make appointments. Some people go online on the website and book appointments sight unseen. They've never been here before because the word is out. The quality is high. I'm very thorough. I don't mess around. If I work on your bike, everything works, or I'm going to point out what doesn't work and why, and whether you want to get it addressed. I don't leave anything out. No guessing. No shortcuts. That's the way you want to roll. And so people will go out of their way to come to you. So people who care about their bikes, they come to me. I have a rider. There's a rider you guys know on this channel. His name is Mike Barreras. Mike is very picky. Mike doesn't take his bike anywhere. He brings it to me. He doesn't trust anyone else to work on his bike because he doesn't want to be riding and then some mechanic has skipped something or not tightened something properly. So in a little bit, there's one of these dogs that thinks he's a tough guy. He looks like a little wiener dog right there. He's coming at full speed, think he's tough.
Hey, little guy.
He doesn't even make it to the road.
Like a little speed bump. Tough guy.
It's always the little dogs that think they're just big and bad, have more heart than sense. Like Courage, the cowardly dog. When things get rough, he steps up. Anyway, so this road is going to take us to 1488. There is another store on the corner there. So I'm either going to pick that store or the store before the other one. There are two options. I'll look at the map. I like to space them out so the stops are not too close together. But we stopped twice on this ride, even though the weather was cooler, because, you know, when it's cooler, you're not burning as much in terms of your perspiration. So we needed to stop to relieve ourselves. So this road is going to hit 1488 up here. There's the store I'm talking about. That's another option.
Back there that he stopped at. We got this store. Yeah, so forget that guy. I'll look at the distances.
Yeah, so we're gonna not patronize.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We're gonna turn right here, and then we're gonna go on.
Turning left.
We're gonna be turning left on a road called Joseph Road. This part of 1488 is very rural, so it's not busy. Well, it is high-speed traffic. So this is my out of town. We're in very rural areas.
This road's freshly paved. Nice. That's just for your charging port. Cars.
Yeah, Laura's charging port on her Garmin rear radar was open.
The cover is hanging.
So she's gonna reach back and fix it. I'm gonna say that's pro.
Now that's pro.
You should be able to do those kind of things, you know? It's like, you shouldn't have to stop. Like I know riders that stop to drink. You shouldn't have to stop to drink. You gotta practice reaching for your bottle, drinking, and putting it back, making sure it's in the cage before you let go. You know, it's not hard to do. That's the whole reason for riding. That's what we mean when we say we train. We don't just ride. We work on stuff on every ride. I'm always working on something. You need to have a purpose for every ride. Even if your ride is just to go out and sightsee, you should be working on, okay, how smooth does my bike feel? How smooth does how comfortable are my shoes or whatever? You don't want to discover discomfort when you're in a serious group ride. Do that by yourself. Always work on stuff. I basically have switched. I'm using the wheels for my trainer that I use on the trainer on my bike. They're my heavier wheels. In the winter, I put heavier compound tires. That most of the time. I mean, it's not winter yet; it's fall, but still. when the weather starts changing and we have more rain and stuff, I want to put heavier tires on so that they can resist puncture more and keep my faster tires for maybe in the spring of later. You got to be able to rotate your stuff because they last longer. There's no point in training on racing tires unless you've already put a full season on them and you just want to wear them out. You need to have heavier compound tires for your indoor riding if you have that kind of trainer that requires a wheel on there, or just for your endurance riding. Because I really don't want to be messing with flats when it's cold. So, just because they're heavier compound, they don't need to be completely worn. They need to be in good condition, but heavier, stronger. Put your gator skins or whatever else. I use the Ultra Sport. I like the feel of it. And it's easy to change when you have a puncture. It comes off the rim like butter. So that's all important. When it's cold, you don't want to be fighting with getting the tire on or off the rim. So most of the ride we're riding 22, 23, something like that for the most part. This stretch is going to pop up a little bit, so your heart rate's going to creep when you're on these rides. And even though, that's why I call it high aerobic endurance. Because this will strengthen your VO2 max. It really helps your body improve your oxygen transport system. I'm sitting in the paceline, so I just keep my cadence close to 80. We're not really hammering. There's not a whole lot of jumps. We're not doing a lot of major accelerations. We're just kind of rolling steadily. So just like you wouldn't drive your car at 7,000 RPM, once you get up to the speed you want, you need to do something similar when you cycle. Find your cruising cadence, and it's going to vary based on how you feel and what's going on that day, that time, that spot in the ride. So listen to what your legs want to do. There's no hard, fast rules. There are no cadence, preset cadence ranges that you need to adhere to necessarily, just so long as you're not laboring, because your body is going to want to do different things at different times. There are times when I'm on a climb and I'll spin up a small gear. There are times when I'll push a bigger one based on how I'm feeling. So you need to be flexible. You need to be able to do it all. That makes you a more dynamic rider. So I sit on Dan's wheel here. That dog that's barking is behind a fence. Just excited to see us out here, that's all. There's a club in this area called the NWCC, the Northwest Cycling Club. They ride out here quite a bit. This part of the area is mostly farmland. There's a lot of wind. That's what we're dealing with. A few bumps here and there, but nothing major. But the wind makes you work. It's kind of like, being in the Netherlands out here. It's windy. Especially when we get these fronts. The wind couldn't make up its mind. Whatever. It just seemed to be everywhere on this ride. Every direction. Later in the morning, it turned southeast, and I guess that's what was warming up today. So we're right at 70, but it feels cooler. So we're battling this wind here. As you can see, my heart rate has crept up into the low 160s. I'm at the bottom of zone 4. Because I had a rest week this week, my heart rate variability is more efficient. So basically like a rev counter that's functioning really well. Because sometimes when you're really tired, your heart rate doesn't go up when you want it to. When you push, you just can't get it up. So you got to pay attention to your recovery. That's important. But if you look at the bars on the bottom of the screen, most of the ride is in the aerobic zone. Most of the effort because once you get fit enough, it takes a lot more work to get you into the anaerobic area, unless you know, the terrain and how much you push it. So that's the whole point of training consistently, to build that aerobic engine. So even though this area is pretty flat, the wind really makes the difference here as far as the effort. When you get out there and that wind starts pounding, you can see my heart rate has dropped like 20 beats just in a little bit. So when you're fit also, you can push and recover quickly and be able to go again. That's the whole reason why you have to build your aerobic engine, so that when you push, your quality will be really high. So my focus here was staying aerobic as much as possible and making sure that I had a high aerobic workout focus, because I've been riding in the lower zones. When I did ride this week, this was a rest week, so I needed to make sure that this ride was high quality for me. But I didn't do any major jumps. I just took longer pulls, and I think one of them is on camera. I may have to do a time lapse on it when we get to that point, because I was not aware. I forgot the camera was on, and I sat up there for a while. But you can see how we're following each other. We got a nice tight line, and all we're doing is soft pedaling or drifting a little bit over when the speed requires it, like right there. We're slowing down for the stop sign coming up. I think this part of the road, I think this is, yeah, it's still Joseph Road. We're going to be turning left in a bit, and we're going to go up through a neighborhood where there's a nice little bump for about probably 50 to maybe 100 meters. But the reason we come through here is it's quiet. So even with the growth in an area like we're experiencing out here, you still should be able to find the roads less traveled nearby. There will always be road less traveled. There will always be residential roads that you can use to make sure you get a good cycling workout. You want to ride on roads with high workout potential, meaning that there aren't too many stops and it's not congested. We're going into the wind at 20 miles an hour, and that wind is blowing. But because of the benefit of the draft, and I'm behind a very tall rider, Dan Jaworski is about my height, Dan and Paul. So Dan, Paul, and myself are the taller riders on the right. Then you got Mike, Laura, and John. We're about mid-height. So you want to follow somebody who can give you a good draft where possible. Because when I'm following Laura, I've got to get very low. Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you got to do that. You can't always pick who you follow. But whenever possible, follow somebody close to your height. We're going to be turning and go into another neighborhood. There's a car back, but he's going to wait.
It's okay. Go ahead.
So I told him it's okay. I checked in my mirror. The car slowed down. We're turning left here. So if we had gone straight, the road would have changed names from Joseph to Robinson Road. This road is called I've got to look on the map. I think it shows up on here. Little John. Yeah, this one's called Little John. Then it's going to change names again because it curves all around. It's going to become, I believe, Butera. And then it joins Nickel Sawmill. I like coming on this road in this direction because about maybe in about 2 kilometers, it's going to pick up. It's a nice little bump. So when I'm riding solo and I'm trying to stay in a certain power zone, I will either seek out to go into the wind or find a lumpy area where I can use the conditions to get me in that zone. Because on a very flat road, then I gotta really focus on pushing myself to get in that zone, meaning spinning a larger gear and so forth. But depending on what I need to work on, sometimes I seek out the wind or hills because the effort is similar. We're reading the road. Nobody's going to be calling out a road like this. You need to pay attention. The group is small enough. There's like 6 of us. And that's what you need. 3 to 5 riders is ideal. You don't need a huge group. Even if you're in a large group and you want to work harder, then try to stay near the front and rotate and do the work and get back near the front. I don't think you'll have anybody complaining. They don't mind you putting your nose in the wind. So John's done pulling. He's slipping to the back. So if you look at the map in the corner, you can see how the road curves. So as it curves, once we hit the end of, there's a neighborhood coming up, the name will change. And I think this is like, it's already changed a little bit. This is called Bainberry now. I said Butera earlier. This is Bainberry. So it goes from Little John to Bainberry. And then once we get into Stagecoach area, it's gonna become Butera. We're gonna get on a road called Butera. So we seek these roads. As you can see, we're riding and we're not being interfered with by cars. It's every now and then maybe, but it's very quiet. The whole route is not like this, but you know, you get enough of it like this to where you get a workout. That's the whole point of heading out of town. It's like an excursion. So during the week when I'm doing a short launch ride, I find neighborhoods where everybody's going to work and the roads are just like this. You can go and get a good workout. I'm looking around day in here to avoid those little ruts that are popping up from time to time. You always want to look around to see what's coming. Is the pavement going to get a little sketchy? Do I need to stay more to the right or to the left? You know, that kind of stuff. And then you can alert the other riders behind you with your hand signals and so forth. Don't always depend on the rider at the front, because sometimes things come up quicker than they can react to. You can hear the wind. I've got it dubbed down a bit, but I think this is where it kicks up. So look at the grade. Then look at my watts. So your watts are going to vary from the next person next to you, because depending on how many kilos you're carrying, you need to put out, because it comes down to watts per kilo. But it's a nice long climb. It says 2.5. I don't know what it gets to, but I just know whenever it shows up, we're working. And this is steadier than what I expected, actually, so that's not bad. But 350 right there, then it dropped to 2 something, so that's the thing about power, it jumps all over the place. So this is not bad. This is steady. 320. I saw 400 briefly. I'm staying as close to 90 as possible. Just riding whatever gear I'm in. So 2.4%, let's say. That's not bad, but it's long. We're still climbing. Bainburg. I love coming down this way whenever I come out here. It's gonna dump us onto Nickel Sawmill Road. So we have to stop here because of the traffic. We're gonna be turning left. And then as soon as we turn, Michael's gonna say he needs to stop because he needs to pee. Because that's the thing when you're riding and your body has not used the fluid. Once you stop, then you have this urge to pee. Because when you're riding, somehow you can tolerate it. So as soon as we turn, I heard him tell John right here. He said he's got to stop. So at the time, I didn't know why he stopped, but I knew I heard him tell John he's got to stop. And so in a little bit, I'm going to ride up because Laura's not aware. Neither is Dan or Paul. So I'm going to ride up and let Laura know.
Mike had a problem. He had to stop. I'm not sure why. He stopped at the turn.
So we back off, and in a little bit, we're going to pull into one of the driveways. Paulie Longa's going to suggest that we pull into one of the driveways. So Laura's going to slowly soft pedal and wait for Mike, and she's going to bring him up. So on an open ride where people don't know each other, you're not going to get people waiting for you. So if you need to stop, then you're just going to have to meet the group at the next stop point or the next store or something like that, unless you got your mates with you and you all can chase back, that kind of stuff. But with our group, when there's an unusual stop, we slow down, we wait, we make sure that the person's okay or whatever, unless they say go. This is not an open ride. It's a private group. We have our own little chat. We invite people to come to ride. They're part of the group. And so we treat it differently. So Paul is telling me to use that driveway. I gave him thumbs up. When we're on the road, I don't like to talk too much because the wind, there's a lot of wind. People can't understand.
I heard him say he has to stop. He didn't say why. When we turned, he had an issue. Something caused him to stop. I'm not sure why.
He had to pee. I see them.
Oh, he had to pee?
Again.
Oh, my God. Okay. Okay. All right, they're coming.
So this is when we found out that he had to pee. That was John who he told that he was stopping. So they're coming, and then we're going to, I think we'll wave them up, and then we get behind them or something.
Okay.
So Laura brought him back, paced him back, and then now we're gonna resume our ride.
Yeah, he'll do that. Yeah.
So at the corner, I'm gonna let him know your body, your body too cold.
We have to.
Yeah. That's why even though the weather and the distance is not that far for us, we were riding about 70 miles. We usually do 80. So that's why I still have 2 stops, because I know when it's cooler, your body's still adjusting. Because we still drink off the bike. You should. You need fluids to keep your blood pressure, keep your nutrients moving, all that kind of stuff. You need a drink. Don't skim. If your pee is yellow, you're behind. You need a drink. It should be clear, ideally. Especially after a ride, you need a drink. You get your recovery drinks down, and then you drink water. Because you lose a lot more than you can put back on the bike normally. So on this ride, we'll wait for people, flat tires, that kind of stuff, we wait. Now, if the pace heats up and the group splits, we don't wait, because we'll wait at the store. And we split up, and then, we can have multiple groups on the road, especially when a lot of riders show up. But at the open rides, for those of you who haven't done too many group rides, at the open ride where it's just a public ride, if you don't know anybody there, they're not going to wait for you. Even if you have a flat, they just keep riding. You got to go to rides with everything you need to fix your mechanicals.
So you have to be more, because you're not using the water. Because I drink a lot off the bike, so I have to wear more stuff.
Yeah, that's what I tell him, Michael. I said, because you still drink a lot, and then if
I think, Mike, your body's cold.
Yeah, I know. So I still drink the same amount.
Yeah, me exactly. Me too.
Yeah, so his outfit is, he expected it to warm up quicker than it has.
You're not using the water.
Yeah.
So that's why I wear.
You see, John is wearing tights, but he's not wearing heavy tights.
Yeah.
And that's me too. I err on the side of being comfortable. I don't want to freeze for the first hour, because I ride to the ride. I want to be comfortable. So all I took off on this ride were my gloves to regulate my temperature, and it does make a difference.
Because it's going to warm up, and the next few days it's going to hit 80s again.
Yeah. Like today we're in the 80s, like 82. And this ride was Saturday. So yeah, it warms up. You can't really get used to it. Your blood doesn't get thick enough, because it's just, we have variable temperatures. Cool in the morning, it warms up. We're having just spectacular weather, so it's nice. So this is Nichols Sawmill, I believe, that we're on. Nichols Sawmill Road. It's a little busier, but still bike friendly. You can see people's homes. You see the fences on the right. These are large acreage homes. This area used to be very rural. More and more people have moved out here to cut down, taken farmland and built subdivisions and all that. But it's mostly residential. We're going to be turning right, but there's a bunch of cars in line.
Let's stay behind the cars, guys.
I was going to stay behind, but Dan turned in the parking lot, so I said, let's just follow Dan.
Let's stay behind them, because they're going to go the same way. That's okay. I guess let's follow Dan. Come on.
Yeah, so what happened is there are 2 cars with the signals on.
So Mike's body is still cold because he didn't wear enough stuff, and he still drinks a lot off the bike. That's why I told him, I said, you got to wear more stuff so your body can use the water.
So in a little bit, those cars that we cut through the parking lot are going to come by. A lot of times I'll just get behind them, but Dan had already turned, so no big deal. So we're going to roll. I believe this might be Butera. This was recently repaved, as you can see. Beautiful, smooth asphalt. We turned right off of Nichols Sawmill, so we're headed mostly south now. Yeah, this is Butera. So a lot of these roads out here in the north, this is northwest Harris County. the northwestern part of the city. They're very, it's been rural for the longest time, but the growth, the growth of people moving to the area, new subdivisions and so forth. So most of the roads are like this. So we ride where you see John is for the most part. So the cars have to move over a little bit as they go by. We don't do double paceline here. The road's too narrow for that because you end up not allowing the traffic to go by. You end up impeding the normal flow of traffic. So wherever possible, try not to do that with your groups. So if the road were a double boulevard with 2 lanes, then we take the right lane. We do that out here, like when we go to areas called Bridgeland and other places like that. But on a road like this is the proper way to use it, so that they have to move over a little bit, but they can still see around you to decide when it's safe to pass. Because as we're riding here, there are cars behind us. They're waiting because that was a hill. They couldn't really see. So the line of sight is not there, but whenever they can, they'll go by. It's a lot easier. That's one of the people that are following us. So when you're riding your bike, don't consider the drivers in cars to be your enemy. Every now and then there's one person that may do something crazy that leaves an impression in your mind that way, but you need to coexist. These are your neighbors. They live where you live. They may not always behave right, but they're still your neighbors. So that's the way you have to look at it. They don't always make the best decisions, but sometimes you have to help them make proper decisions about where you place yourself on the road within reason. So if somebody's doing something unsafe, by all means get off the road. Don't try to prove a point. I do the same thing even while I were in my car. I don't want to buy no car. New cars are crap and they're expensive. They break all the time. I like my old car. It works. So I get out of the way. I try to preserve that. All the new cars nowadays that look like video games. They're putting screens in them. More crap, more electronic nonsense that breaks. Creates all kinds of other problems for you. Look at the pavement. About a month ago, they had this all shaved. They did the whole stretch. And we came through here when there was nothing but dirt. And we rode it. And now this is just nice. And they did it quickly. They didn't mess around. This is nice. So I'm sitting on John's wheel. John is on Dan Jaworski's wheel. I was on Dan's wheel earlier, but when we turned into that parking lot after we stopped for Mike, you get kind of shuffled in the group. But what I tried to do is, I know John has already pulled. I think I end up taking a pull after Jaworski. At the next intersection, I'm going to change up because John is not due for a pull yet. In a small group, you can kind of tell. I'm feeling fine. The pace is fine. I'm in good shape, so I figure, okay, I feel like it's my turn after Dan to pull. So I'm going to use the opportunity at one of the intersections to move up and get on Dan's wheel. So if you were in a group ride like this and you are not feeling good and you gave up your turn to pull, that's okay. Nobody would mind. So you wouldn't have to like change position necessarily. But whenever you got to the front, you would just go ahead and get off the front if you weren't feeling good. I think we're going to be turning. I think we're going right. Oh, I said left. No, we're going left. We're going left. This area that we're in is called Stagecoach. The driver let us go. It's a four-way stop sign. So I have my basic wheels that I use on the trainer, my training wheels on the bike. And so I intentionally planned to work harder on this ride. So I didn't put anything fancy on there. I just wanted to kind of, I took the bike off the trainer and just clipped in and headed out. So this section of the road is kind of lumpy. It's up and down. And then we're going to get to an intersection in about probably maybe 2 kilometers. And that's where I'll go ahead and just slip to the front. I think this road is called Walnut Creek. The area is called Stagecoach. And we're headed towards another area called Decker Prairie. And as it indicates Decker Prairie, the prairie is usually where you have the farms. So it's mostly flat and has a lot of wind. So this is where as we turned, the grade went up. I just went to the front. I'm going to do a time lapse because I sat up here for quite a while. I kept it right at sweet spot. That's what the group's been doing. This is where I'm going to pull off. I'm turning right here, and then I'm going to pull off the front. So I pulled for at least 10 minutes, about 10 minutes. I'm not sure what that driver was blowing at. He's passing and blowing like we don't know there are cars on the road. They act like they're in a god-awful hurry going nowhere. Everybody's going someplace. Your destination is not more critical than the next person's. I'll go ahead and slip back on the back. So when the group is small, and if you can, take longer pulls. This is a small little road here in between people's homes. More like a path than anything. It's not even wide enough, that thing, for 2 cars. And this infrastructure forces them to slow down. When the road is narrow like this, they'll slow down. That's what the Europeans have figured out and implemented in their cities. But we keep building wide roads out here that these tanks called SUVs are.
These are farmlands, right?
Yeah, we're talking about the wind. Yeah, I thought I said that wind.
Yeah. The prairie.
So this area is actually called Decker Prairie. A lot of farms out here to the left. Those are farms. And a lot of them are actually active farms. So John is pulling now. John was on my wheel after we turned on that corner when I took over from Dan. Slipped up to the front, so John is pulling now. We're heading towards our second rest stop in an area called Rose Hill after we go through Decker Prairie. So wherever you are, wherever you live, get familiar with your roads near your home. They're always quiet roads. And, some places are more congested than others, but you can find quiet roads nearby. So that when you don't have a whole lot of time, you have a place to just quickly get a short ride in, 30 minutes, an hour, or whatever. So we're going into a headwind at 20, 21 miles an hour. That's why you need to learn how to draft. So because I'm in the draft, my heart rate is about 13 beats below where it was when I was sitting at the front. 13 to 20. I mean, it went up there at certain points where the road was kicking up. There is actually a benefit to sitting in the draft. Even the birds have figured it out. You ever seen those birds flying in a V? They got that sorted. Aerodynamics matter. But the main thing that you need to work on is your position, because your body is 80% of your drag. Your position and your hit. So when it matters, I can get my nose right over my stem. So this direction that we're taking will take us on this nice long climb. After John is done pulling, the pirate Laura would take over, and she just flattens that climb. You see the gap here? I'm just sitting on Dan's wheel. Mike let the gap open, so he's closing it. I'm not sure what he was doing in that corner, but I don't know. So when you're riding with your group and they're going around a corner, unless it's really sketchy, stay close, because you have to work to close the thing. If you do that for hours, it just empties your tank. Look how pretty this is. We're going under the trees here. And we're actually not out of town. We're in a heavily populated area. We're just on a nice rural road, or a little stretch of it. I think this is where we're going to be coming to, maybe probably in about 3 or 4 kilometers we're going to come to that climb. Once John pulls off. Yeah, Laura's in second position right now. So this road is called Prairie Rose Hill. This is the road that takes us to our next stop. And it has a nice, I would say the climb is at least a kilometer. Maybe a kilometer and a half, maybe a mile. It's a good stretch. But the reason we say that is so that if someone's pulling off the front, they're aware that there's a car passing, they won't swing too far out. And since I'm the last one, I always let them know somebody's coming up.
Straight.
Yeah, he seemed to hesitate, so I wanted him to know we're not turning. Yeah. This road is called Coal Road or something like that. It's a good road when you're going northwest. We're headed south. We're going southeast to get back. If you look at the map, you can see where we are, where the map on the left, top left corner, that orange dot is where we're at. John's done pulling. I told him, good pull. He'd been there for a while. Now, Laura takes over, and John gets on my wheel, and she's going to take us to the stop. So if you look at the watts, like we're doing 35K, so 23, 24 miles an hour, and it's 150, 170, whatever. The watts jump all over the place. So what you see up there is a 3-second average. So when you're in a pace line, you're not always on the rivet. You spin up, you soft pedal, there's a lot of stuff going, even when you ride solo. And so a lot of times if you go on a ride and say, I want to hold, let's say 160 watts a whole ride. Certain terrain, you got to really work to get it there. If you're going downhill or whatever, you got to get in a bigger gear or whatever. And since the watts jump all over the place, you might initially get 300 watts, then 100 watts, then 120. And that's why I don't even look at it when I'm riding. I pay attention to how I feel. Am I going 2 out of 5? Am I going 3 out of 5? Am I going 5 out of 5? That's more important than all this stuff. After the fact, you can go and analyze that data. But when you're on the ride, just ride. You know, if you're serious about your training and you're trying to hit specific things, yes, a power meter helps get you there. But don't be too dependent on it. If the power meter quits, you still should be able to know how hard you're going. Because the rate of perceived exertion, RPE, matters. So I'm sitting in the pace line right now. Generally, I may be 2 out of 5. And then when we get to that hill, I'll probably get up to like 3.5, 4 out of 5 or something like that. You know, we go pretty hard on a stretch of it, but not the whole thing. But yeah, the pace is fast. But you should be able to go 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5, depending on what workout you're doing, because you need to stretch your body periodically more than your normal cadence. I think this is where the hill begins. After this bridge, yeah. I hope we get a shot of it in the distance. See that? And look at the watts. 300 and something, 450. So now with 5%, I saw 6, now it dropped to 5. Now it's going to 4, 3. So the watts are going to come down because the gradient, and even when you're climbing a mountain, it's the same thing. Depending on what kind of mountain it is, it's not always one gradient. So now it's 2.4%. And we're just going. So 300 something watts, whatever. You should be able to do that. We're doing 18 miles an hour. And we're going into the wind up this hill. So you need to be able to put out initial bursts, 450, 600. I mean, for, let's say if you're 83 kilos and up, you should be able to do that because that's what you need. The lighter people, 60 kilo guys, they don't have to put out that many watts to start out anyway. We're still climbing here. It says 1 point something is leveling off, but it's like a false flat and we're into the wind. So the effort is still pretty good. And you can see where the watts went to like, so now it's flattening out. So as you get fitter, you can literally feel these little respites where, see how the watts are below 100? It's almost like a rest. I'm not sure what causes that, but that's part of riding. There are times when you're soft pedaling or whatever else, there's a slight hesitation, like now, 30-something watts, not really putting down in. Then you got to rev it back up. So you got to be able to spin up and get going when you need to. So some of your workouts should involve jumps out of the corner and so forth. There's a lot of debris, and so I backed up so I could find a good path. I didn't want to hit those little mud, they're like little mud bumps, I call them. They fell off of a truck or something. They feel almost like little cobblestones, so I avoid them. I had to ride back up to Dan's wheel. You can see my thumb coming into the frame on the right because I'm on the hoods, and the camera is wide angle.
Cars back.
So it picks that up. So I don't know what you did on Saturday, but this is part of what we did. We're in Rose Hill in Northwest Harris County. We're going to be stopping at a local store, one that appreciates us. They don't charge us for ice. But we go in there and buy other stuff. So we're going to give them our business, not the rest of those geniuses that don't know how to keep their customers coming back. They'll do all the advertising and then throw customers away. Go figure. So remember, get your K's in and keep all the doctors fired. So when we get to the store, Mike's gonna say he blamed Laura for going over zone 2 on that climb because he was fine the whole ride. I think he was kidding. We've been over zone 2. It's a nice little Shell station here, convenience store.
It's long. So I like that hill. I like that hill. You mess up, it will slap you in the face because it's not super short.
That was the only time on this ride that I had to go over zone 2, and that's your fault. You completely messed my program.